Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Arthritis Action Podcast. I'm Mark, your host for today, and in this episode, I'm joined by Emily Johnson, also known as the Arthritis Foodie. So Emily is the author of the best-selling book, Beat Arthritis Naturally, and in May this year, she released her latest book, Eat Well with Arthritis, 85 delicious recipes and essential health tips from Arthritis Foodie. So welcome to the podcast, Emily.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me, Arthritis Action. It's great to be here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for coming. So firstly, I have read both of your books.
Oh, wonderful.
And they were great. My wife's actually pinched the latest one off me because she's going through all the recipes on it. So I had a couple bookmarked myself because we're both big fans of cooking. So yeah, she's currently going through it and finding out which ones will be added to the rotation, so to speak.
Oh, brilliant. I'm so glad to hear that. That's super exciting. And I'm glad your wife's on board as well, because if you can get the family involved, it works even better.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So I guess we'll start with how we've done with a bunch of other guests before. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your arthritis.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Emily Johnson, as Mark has covered. I started the blog Arthritis Foodie in 2018 after 5 years of living with arthritis and really getting to quite a dark place and struggling with my arthritis. I have seronegative arthritis, and it presents itself as being in between psoriatic arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. I'm still on medication, but I found that diet and lifestyle and living in an anti-inflammatory way has had a huge impact on how I feel every day, the management of my pain levels, and just essentially living a happier and healthier life overall.
So how did you find out about all the lifestyle sort of changes that you needed to make?
So what happened was I got to a really bad place with my arthritis. I already had it in my hands, and it sort of started to move around as it likes to do. And it went into one ankle, and then it went into the other. And then I was away with my friends, and it went into my elbow to the point where I couldn't stretch my arm because my elbow was so swollen. And that's when I just really hit rock bottom, because my medication at the time wasn't doing its job anymore. It had been helping me in my condition and managing it in quite a good way. But at that point, it just wasn't helping, wasn't doing its job. And I was having steroid injections to manage the pain. They usually work. They were usually my go-to, like, oh, it's okay, I'll just have a steroid injection, I'm fine. And they basically just didn't work as they usually would. So to be quite honest with you, I just hit complete rock bottom and thought, well, what's the worst that could happen? Let me just try looking into diet and lifestyle and food. And naturally, the first place you go, for me anyway, is Google or Instagram. And you look up, I was looking up arthritis foods, arthritis, diet, and I just couldn't find anything that really spoke to me, especially as a 25-year-old person at the time. I just couldn't. There was a lot of food bloggers around, but there was nobody talking about a condition like arthritis and food. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to start this Instagram account, Arthritis Foodie, and originally it was just a food diary for me, and to sort of I suppose hold myself accountable for making these changes to my diet and lifestyle. So I started buying really healthy recipe books. I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard of Deliciella. She was one of the first recipe books I bought. Lots of really healthy recipe creators. And what I struggled with when I got those books was that a lot of the ingredients in there, I just didn't know what they were, because my cooking was really basic before I started Arthritis Foodie. And, I thought it was quinoa, not quinoa. And I just didn't know.
Oh, so you weren't much of a chef already then? Because
No.
I assumed that you had been.
No, absolutely not.
So this is a big transformation then. You've gone from not being able to cook to literally having a book about it.
Massive oh my God, massive transformation, Mark. And I'm very honest about that, in both my books. But I honestly just, cooking for me was like, oh God, I've got to cook. Like I hated doing it. I didn't enjoy it. It's actually the opposite now, because I know how much it affects my health. So I really enjoy it. But at the time I was not very good at cooking. I just thought, oh gosh, well, I don't know any of this anyway. But I just completely overhauled my entire diet, started literally from the very basic kind of thing in the kitchen, and just cooked everything from scratch. Whole foods. I discovered Dr. Rupi from Doctor's Kitchen, and influencers like that as well that are in the kind of health and wellness space. and just started doing a lot of trial and error, basically, and also reading research papers online and reading research around diet, health, food, mental well-being, living with inflammation, all that kind of thing. And I started to notice a massive difference in what I was doing after about 3 to 6 months, which is as long as you give it a medication to work, I guess. I was giving it, I gave it that amount of time, and really noticed a difference in my pain levels, in my swelling, in like loads of different things. And I just started to feel happier as well, and thought, okay, well, I'm going to continue doing this, and this is great. But then my Instagram at that point was getting quite big as well. So I was getting lots of messages like, Emily, where have you read about this? And how can I get this into my lifestyle and diet? And what can I do? And I had nowhere to send people. So I would send people really long Instagram DM messages like, you need to try, like, do this and stop recovering. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't keep doing this every time someone messages me. I would love to have the time to do that, but I really don't. So I thought, gosh, there must be a book in this. Surely there's a book in this. And I'd been on Amazon before looking for arthritis and food books, and I'd had ordered a few of them, and they were very out of date, and not kind of, some of them were like anti-inflammatory recipe books, but they weren't dedicated to arthritis and autoimmune conditions. So I thought, right, I'm just gonna go ahead and write this book. I got pulled in because I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, but I appreciate that we need that science, we need that backing. And so I got lots of other healthcare practitioners involved in both books, and both books have been signed off by rheumatologists as well. And they've had input from, doctors, immunologists, nutritionists, physiotherapists, and rheumatologists. And they effectively are the books that I wish I'd had when I was 20 years old, sat in awful pain with swollen hands, wondering what on earth my life was going to look like, living with arthritis. So yeah, that's a long answer, but
it's a very good answer. Like, and one thing I really liked about them as well, like especially in the first book, you talk a lot about not just food, but other lifestyle changes that can make a huge difference, which is a lot of the sort of things we like to talk about at Arthritis Action as well. So yeah, very good that it's lined up, that I won't have to cut anything out you say.
Oh, fantastic. Glad to hear that.
There's no crazy weird remedies or anything. It is actually good practical advice.
Yeah, a really practical advice. And I will admit, when I first started Arthritis Foodie, I did try everything. I tried all of that. I tried cutting out nightshade vegetables. I tried, I did try it. And, I actually found that so far, I mean, there could be in the future, but there's nothing actually in research, in science, to say that nightshade vegetables are bad for us. And actually, they're full of really fantastic plant phytochemicals that are so good for us, which I go into a lot more detail in my second book. You can see all the ingredients that I've included and why they're included. And, some feedback has been, if they haven't bought the first book, anyone that's bought the second book and is very new to my work have said, there are quite a lot of ingredients, and I can appreciate that massively, but I've chosen them specifically because they help with inflammation. So, if you stock up your cupboard over a period of time, it doesn't have to be something you do in a day, but every time you get a recipe, stock that spice, that herb, and then eventually you'll have all your basics in your cupboard, and you'll look at the recipes and go, oh wait, I've got everything in the cupboard, in the store cupboard, all I need is the fresh ingredients. And that's where I'm at now with what I do. So in the beginning, it can be quite a bit of an expensive thing, but just space it out across 6 months and just gradually build your spice cupboard. You'll realize that they're all there for a reason, basically, and all the science, etc. So yeah.
One thing I really like in the book is you have like an example thing of like what you have in your cupboards. Just like if you don't know where to start, just read this list. This is a good list of stuff to go for. And I mean, because obviously there's always a lot of people are worried about healthy food and it being bland or boring, or obviously we know it's not true. So if anyone is listening, it isn't true. You can make just cook it right and food is delicious, basically.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Yeah, totally right, Mark. And, it like I was saying, I didn't enjoy cooking, and I really, hated being in the kitchen. I just wanted it to be over with. But I have found that cooking in this way and knowing that it is making a difference to how I feel makes me want to do it and want to make that time in my day or in my week to do it. But I appreciate, when you live with arthritis, you may not have the energy all the time. So perhaps we can talk through some of the tips and things, but maybe that's in your question list.
Oh yeah, definitely. When you mentioned how, like, you noticed the way that, like, when you started cooking and having better food, then it made you feel better. So it's in your book, you've got a trigger tracker, which is I'm a big fan of, like, getting people to do this, and just basically you have a much catchier name than I have. I just say food diary, but trigger tracker is much better. Basically writing down, like, how you feel after you eat as well, so that you can find those foods that, like, really do work for you, or if there is one, like, I know we're saying, like, in general there's nothing wrong with nightshade vegetables and tomatoes. They're lovely and really good for you, but there will be the occasional person with an intolerance to something, and it's good to track what you eat so that you can find out. So if there is something that's wrong, just cut that out. Now because through tracking what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. The trigger tracker. I mean, that's, people can download it for free off my website if they'd like to, or they can see it in both of my books. But I thought that was really important to do. And also to just caveat that everybody's arthritis is different. Your genetics are different. Your gut microbiome is different. Even between twins, gut microbiomes are completely different. So how you react to certain foods, how you react to certain lifestyle changes, everything, or the whole mix is completely personal to you. So I would also just make sure that don't compare yourself to what other people might be triggered by, or how other people might react to certain medications, or it's a completely personal thing. So which is why the trigger tracker is so important. And it's one of those things where you think, oh God, like it's another another task to do, but try not to see it like that, because it's a temporary task. You really just have to track for like 3 months, 6 months if you really want to go in depth, and to like double check your triggers. But even 6 weeks, you could probably find out what's triggering you. And it is different for everybody. And for me, I thought it was all dairy. I thought all dairy was triggering for me, but actually it's a type of dairy that's triggering for me, which is the more inflammatory types of dairy, like uber processed dairy with not much nutritional content, and like deep fried cheese, or like cheese on pizza, or like things like that are very like whoa. But then I found that low lactose dairy that's actually found to be anti-inflammatory in scientific research are things like feta cheese, kefir, that have been fermented effectively. So fermented dairy, I'm actually fine, because most of the sugars, the lactose has been eaten up by the bacteria, and it's then, a different kind of dairy. So there's even sometimes subsets within a category that, because obviously not everybody wants to give up cheese, and that's fine.
No, of course.
So you might find certain cheeses you're okay with and some you're not. So it's just all about figuring it out, for you and what works for you. So, yeah.
I guess we should probably talk a bit more about actually cooking, as well as we've covered the food, but we'll definitely come back to it anyway. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, we can.
But like, what simple things do you think people could do to make cooking easier when they have arthritis?
So this is something that I have put a lot of work in both of my books, in coming up with lots of tips and ways and things that I do in the kitchen, but also bringing in experts as well for that. And we've got an occupational therapist. You may have heard of her, Cheryl Crow. She's in the second book as well, talking about reducing pain in the kitchen. But personally, for me, there's a few things that I do. Number one is if I have got quite a number of steps in a recipe, I'll split them like in two. So I'll do some of it in the morning and some of it in the evening. Or some of it the night before, and then some of it on the day of. And I divide the tasks up, and I speak about it in the book, but it's something my mum calls the kitchen fairy. Kitchen fairy's done my chopping. How lovely. And obviously it's her, but so I think that's quite a nice way of looking at it. So you kind of, or you're taking care of a future you, basically. Future Emily's going to be happy that I've done this. So
I do like those examples. I use past Mark has a lot to answer for, usually. He doesn't care enough about future Mark.
But yeah, if you try and think of it like that, I mean, and also if it is too much for you, get somebody to help as well. But like peeling and chopping vegetables, say for my chili my vegan chili con carne in the second book, I'll prep veg in the morning, leave it in Tupperwares or bags in the fridge, and then that evening all I've got to do is just whack it all in a big pot, and that's it, So it's dividing things up like that may help people, because it definitely helps me. Second thing is freezing things. So people probably go on about this, but honestly, it makes such a huge difference. So whenever you are in a good space with your arthritis, and you're feeling you're on a good day, try and make the most of it, and make a batch of something that you can then either have during the week that you've got it in the fridge, or you can have some that evening and then put the rest in portioned freezer bags or freezer Tupperwares, whatever you've got at home, and then you can take out a bag that's a meal when you're feeling a bit rough and you've had a bit of flare up or whatever it might be. So again, protecting future you, having these things ready for you. That would be my second tip. And my third tip as well is, if you can spend a little bit of money, if you want to, on slightly more expensive processed, they're not processed, but they're pre-prepared, I should say.
Yes, yeah.
They've got loads of healthy things in them. And yeah, you can do, I think they're available in Co-op, Sainsbury's. If you listen to this and you're not in the UK, I'm sorry. But I'm sure you've got something in, I don't know, Trader Joe's or wherever you are.
There'll be some sort of equivalent, local equivalent.
Yeah. And what I do is I just check the ingredients on the back and make sure I pretty much recognize everything. And then I buy one of those if I'm really like, oh my gosh, I've actually not had time, I don't have time to defrost something, I'm really tired, then I grab something like that. But don't be afraid to do that, but just know that don't be doing it every day, because it's better, obviously it's better to cook and eat at home, and it's cheaper to cook and eat at home. Definitely. But so that would be another example. But I avoid ultra processed foods completely, because they really do trigger me, and I'm terrible for the gut. There's a lot about them in the news at the moment as well.
One thing, like a helpful tip that I've always found to give people, is just like, when you're looking at ingredients on the back of packets, the less ingredients, the better. Like, if you look at chips and there's 30 things on there, avoid those. There should be one, which is potato. Maybe salt, maybe oil, but any more than that, I think you should probably just buy a potato. Just buy a potato, which is also cheaper. It's way cheaper. And you can even pre-chop and freeze things. So for a chili con carne recipe, if you haven't got time to actually make the recipe, you could pre-chop all the veg and freeze the veg, then grab that veg out of the freezer, then make the recipe. So it's figuring out things that work for you as well, and what storage you have and what you're able to do in wherever you live. But it's protecting future you. That's what this is all about. Also you can buy, like, if things like chopping is an issue as well, like if you have like issues with your hands, you can just buy pre-chopped feg as well. That's already frozen. Absolutely. That's another thing that we do, especially like easy things like frozen peas and frozen sweet corn. I mean, they're just like staple. They're always in the freezer. You can always whack something together with those. So so I mean, not mean to sound too negative, but what do you find that people tend to do wrong, or like common mistakes people make when they start all this?
Probably impatience is up there. There's a feeling that when you start to make these changes and you start to take care of yourself, there's a feeling that it's just going to happen straight away, and you're going to feel better straight away, and you're going to feel it overnight, and or that it's just one thing, like, oh, if I start taking this turmeric drink, everything's going to be fine, or like, but actually it's a slow process. It's a learning process and a learning curve, and you have to give it time. I think, like we're told when we're sat with our rheumatologist, that you've got to try this medication for 3 months, and then even then try it for another 3 months, 6 months. Sometimes they'll keep you on it longer than that to see if it works. So just give yourself enough time for your gut to readjust. You probably will feel a bit funky for the first part of it, because your body might not be used to eating in this way. It's a lot of fiber. Drink more water. Definitely drink more water.
Yeah, definitely.
But you will be increasing your plant fiber, and so that you will notice some funky changes going on. But after 3 to 6 months, most people start to notice a difference in how they're feeling. But just try to be patient with it is my advice, because I think there's a tendency that's what people do. They start to feel quite like, why is it not working?
Yeah. There's no quick fix for it, is there?
There's no quick fix, yeah. And you will still have your up days and down days, and there'll be days that are better than others. That's that's what it's like to live with arthritis. But hopefully you'll have more good days,
When it comes to the actual sort of like process of cooking as well, like when you're actually like in the kitchen doing things, have you got any tips or tricks for people to make the actual process of cooking a bit easier?
Try and make it a sociable experience if you can. I think I mentioned it at the beginning, that I liked that your wife is very involved. I think, if you can get your family involved in what you're doing, it makes all the difference. And, it also gets them eating healthier and sort of understanding what you're going through and being there for you and having somebody to talk to about it. And I think being sociable with it is a wonderful thing if you can do that. And also I think if you're in the kitchen and you're not really in the right headspace and you feel a bit rubbish, put some music on, or just try to make it an enjoyable experience. And also maybe note down as well, as you make them, the recipes you enjoy, which ones you didn't, and just have some patience with it and keep doing it, because hopefully at some point you will start to feel something is different. And even if you can't do all of the things I talk about, and you feel quite overwhelmed, break it down, do a little bit every week, take it slow and do it as a sort of, I'm going to get there, and it's a journey and it's not going to happen overnight,
Absolutely. So another thing in the book as well, I don't mean to keep spoiling what's in the book. I feel like I'm giving away everything that's in there. But there's a bit in there about like some kitchen gadgets and some of the useful things that people can have in there. I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, of course. So there are quite a few in my book. So again, in terms of like costs and things, if you can't get them all at once, that's absolutely fine. But absolute staples for me, I've got a food processor smoothie maker pestle and mortar, and you can swap it out. You can have a jug for a smoothie maker, you can have the food processor, which processes like various different things. I can make my kidney bean little falafel burger things in there, and also have a pestle and mortar which I make my pesto in, and it just saves so much time and so much effort. So that's something that is used all the time in my house. But if you can't afford a full-blown food processor, then things like a small smoothie maker, I think sometimes they're on offer on Amazon for like £15, and you can make sauces in there, you can make your pesto in there, you can make your smoothies in there, you can make sauces and things using that. So if you can't afford the full-blown big food processor and it's something you want to work towards maybe saving up for, and then of course it's figuring out for you what how you feel in the kitchen and what works for you when you're making recipes. So, if it's an electronic tin opener, I've got one of those that also helps when you're opening tins and various things. And there's loads of like specific tools that are more catered to different types of joint pain in my second book, Eat Well with Arthritis. But they're the kind of main ones that I use quite a lot. And also sit down as well to chop your veg or peel your veg, or you don't have to be stood over the kitchen counter just because you're in the kitchen. If you have got a small table in there and a chair, just sit and chop and peel there, so then you're giving yourself a bit of a rest at the same time.
Yeah, that is one that we sort of heard from other people as well. It's like you don't actually even have to do everything in the kitchen. Just like if you need to sit down in a comfier chair, go there and bring your chopping board, just chop it in your living room.
Exactly.
Table no reason you can't do
TV,
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, pay attention what you're doing when you're chopping.
Of course. Oh gosh, yeah. Maybe turn the TV is off.
Radio, maybe do
that. Radio music, yeah, exactly.
As long as you're paying attention, it's all good. But yeah, there's loads of great gadgets out there. Silicone mats are one of the most underrated things as well. I think you can buy like small little silicone mats. They're like just like a small circle or square of silicone matting. You can use them to open jars. You can put them underneath things to hold them down. They're usually like used as heat pads for like when you put your saucepan on the side of the counter or something.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good tip. Yeah,
they're so versatile and they cost next to nothing. You just buy them in a Wilco or somewhere cheap like that. And
oh, brilliant. Love
really, we've had loads of people have given us that tip from our groups, and it's a brilliant one. Also the old school nutcracker as well, which could be used for opening various things.
Oh, great. Okay.
Especially medicine bottles, or medicine and bleach. Yeah, so
Nice
any
and
of
sweet,
those
yeah.
kind of caps, just old school nutcrackers are surprisingly versatile. I only use them for nuts as well. Nuts are
That's
strangely, that's the last thing I've recommended a nutcracker for. But I assume everyone knows that anyway.
great. Oh, brilliant.
Cool. Is there anything else sort of like? I mean, you're the expert out of the two of us here about arthritis and cooking. Is there anything that you think that what would be useful for people to know?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I could sit here and chat all day.
I've got time. Go for it.
But I think one of the big things as well is appreciating where you are right now and accepting where you are right now, and getting to know your condition and how you feel in your own body is something that will be invaluable to you for the rest of your life, for the rest of living with arthritis. So try not to see this as like, oh no, like try not to feel too negative about all these changes that you're making, and try and see it in a positive way, in that we mentioned it earlier, protecting future you're hopefully going to help the person in the future that is you, that's feeling better, managing their arthritis from day to day in a better way. And that's the ultimate goal. There can be a tendency when you live with a condition like this as well, you kind of go, oh, it's kind of fine, my rheumatologist is going to help me and they'll deal with it. They're just going to handle everything for me. And I definitely felt like that when I first got arthritis. I wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. I was like, I'm just going to take this medication and listen to the rheumatologist. And I just was so in denial and just didn't want to accept it. But actually, I think if you learn to accept your condition and know that you're the best person to understand your condition and understand how it manifests in your body and how you feel every day, that will honestly make such a huge difference, because no one's going to know that more than you. And that's a blessing, and use that knowledge that you have for your own body, for your own wellness, and put it to good use, because be an advocate for yourself. And of course the rheumatologist is there to give you your medication and be there for you in understanding and how you're feeling and all of those sorts of things, but you're the person that's living with it every day. So like I said earlier, just find little things you can do every day and build on it to start to feel more in control, because when you live with something like arthritis, it can feel so out of your control, so like something that is just happening to you, and you've got to deal with it, and that can be true, but also you can learn to live with it. And I say that in both my books, you can learn to live with your arthritis and feel happier and healthier every day. That's the goal.
Amazing. Thank you very much. That was excellent. In that case, right, let's I want to give you a bit more of an opportunity to plug your book. So where can people get it?
Oh, thank you so much. So my second book, Eat Well with Arthritis, is out now. It's 85 delicious recipes, all backed by science, signed off by a rheumatologist. You can find the books on Amazon. They're also on Waterstones, so Rate Smiths, anywhere you buy your books. And I'm on at Arthritis Foodie on Instagram, at Arthritis Foodie is me. So I look forward to hearing from anybody who listens to this podcast. And thank you so much again for having me, Mark.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming. And we've got, if you want to visit our website as well, we'll have some links to some of this, and we'll put some on our socials as well. So our website is www.arthritisaction.org.uk. We've got a bunch of more information about nutrition and so on as well. We did a previous episode on nutrition featuring our own nutritionist in the last series. So feel free to check that out as well. We've got a bunch of recipes available, some of which I believe were sort of donated by you, Emily.
Yes, correct.
And if you have any other questions, you want to get in touch or anything like that, you can contact us by email at podcast@arthritisaction.org.uk. So excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Emily. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Mark, and thank you, Arthritis Action.
See you again next time.